So, I think we should do a top 9 video. What is it about? The classes? The weapons of TF2. I am going to pick 1 or 2, maybe 3 weapons from each class that I don't like and I think they're the worst. Now this is basically my opinion. Your opinion may be different, but I'll have my reasons of doing so. I might get some hate here and there with some of the weapons that normally wouldn't be there for some people, but I'll give the reasons for doing so. And thankfully, I do record and show the stats for you guys, but obviously I'll be picking out the main stats of the problems. Because we know with TF2, there's some good weapons, there's some shit weapons, and there's stuff that still needs fixing. And obviously, if the weapon's been nerfed or buffed recently, I'll give it some slack, but it all depends how it all will go. So the first class we're going to look at, I think you guys should probably find me a bit reasonable with this one, and that is Scout. With the pretty boy pockets pistol, and I make them all look like noobs. The downside, 25% slower fire rate, 20% damage vulnerability on wear when weapon is active. This weapon used to be so great. You used to get like 4 damage resistance and extra health on wear, and you didn't have to pull it out. They nerfed it to shit, and I still think it's a horrible weapon because the positives don't outweigh the negatives. The negatives still outweigh the positive. If they, let's say, nerfed the negatives to make it less punishing and make it a passive, or make it like it's on you forever, and you won't have to worry about that extra damage as much. But they fail it as usual. They do, which is quite upsetting. Because when it came out, it used to be such a good weapon. Yes, such good weapons that were abused, and Mighty Gaben had to nerf it. Why, Gaben? Why? Even though recent TF2 updates they've been releasing have been very good lately. So maybe this weapon could be buffed, but what I'm going to say that this weapon needs to be buffed. If not, it's not going to be used that often, and I rarely see a pocket scout. Really, I rarely see a scout using this weapon. It's that bad. But yeah, so number 2 is Soldier with 2 weapons I think that are terrible. One is obviously reasonable, the second it could be a maybe, but let's have a look at it. And that is the Man Treads and the Pain Train. Why do I think of these 2 weapons? Well, the Man Treads are a bit interesting, but the Pain Train is a bit obvious. 1 cap on wear, but you take 10% more bullet damage, 75%, resistant against, well, the Pyro's air blast, and you do full damage on the enemy. Why are they bad? The Pain Train is understandable. Sure, you can cap as a scout when you're playing as Soldier in demo, but you take % more bullet damage. Think about that with certain classes. How many bullets are there? Yeah, quite a lot. And the Man Tread's only good for rocket jumping, really. That's why they're pretty bad. They're situational weapons, not really worth talking about that much. So next is Pyro. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but the Extinguisher. This used to be, in my opinion, a pretty good weapon and very common. Now you bugger all see this weapon these days. Look at these downsides. There's so many downsides that this will put off a lot of people from using it. And it is sad that this once cool weapon got shat on. It does pretty much fire speed less, deploy less. It's not the weapon it used to be. I don't really see a lot of Pyros using it. The only melee weapons I see Pyros is a normal axe, power jack, or I don't know if the post spot counts, but I don't really see a lot of Pyros using it, which is quite odd, because I remember the days when there were Pyros using it left and right, and now it had the major nerf to the point where it's not being used that often. But I don't use it because it's crap now. Yeah, critical hits on burning players, but it's too slow to use and too sluggish. It would just be easier with a flare shot. Just go burn, air blast, flare. Much better than burn melee. Trust me. It's that obvious. Next is Demo Man, which is the Ulapul Caber. I used to use this and have like this challenge called the Suicide Demo, where you just charge into groups of enemies and kill them. So much downpoint that this weapon deploys 100% slower, so firing speed, no random crits. They nerfed it to shit, this weapon, to the point where it's unusable. I rarely see Demo Men use it. Obviously there's obvious reasons, like it was a bit overpowered, but really, Val, you had to really... Now, if it was like throwable, you can throw it at players and give it some new stats, that would be cool. That would be nice, Valve. But it's a terrible melee weapon, not really worth using, and a bit of a shite one, I have to admit. So don't use it, guys, unless if you're doing the suicidal demo challenge, which, obviously, if it was still good enough to use. And I got Hadoukened. Wonderful. So who's next? Well, it had to be Heavy Weapons guy. I'm giving the Brass Beast a good bollocking. The Brass Beast is a sluggish weapon. The stats are obviously we have the 20% damage bonus and resistance on half health, but the slow up spin time and slow movement speed, oh good grief, it's just horrendous. It's not even worth having as a heavy weapon, because you're just at risk of getting stabbed, shot, sticky bombed. You know, there's too many things that ruin the weapon, and it's not really worth having. And me trying to extinguish a soldier with a Sydney Sleeper with its recent buffs. But the Brass Beast, common in MVM, uncommon in casual or competitive. Quite sad, really, unless if they gave it a nice, better buff or kept the original buff, then it would have been a different story. So the next class is going to be a mixed bag. I use this weapon, guilty as charged, but I hate fighting it. And that is the Gunslinger. Now, it's a 50-50 with everyone. We love using it, but we hate fighting it. I hate fighting engineers that use it and just pop mini sentry, particularly if I'm a scout. I could say it's a neutral weapon, as there are times where it's good, and yes, it has the combat engineer playstyle, but as an engineer, realistically, you're helping your team. More or less the whole time. You're not really going to go out on a killing spree as an engineer, except for your sentry gun. But it is nice that there's a new sentry, and obviously it's a nice option for MVM when you can actually get another little sentry for your big sentry gun. And obviously that extra damage is good. But it's annoying to counter as it chips away your health. Find engineers who can just deploy two of the buggers into seconds, and it doesn't really take that much effort, just like then I just got picked off. So much of an easy kill type of weapon. So, you're probably wondering, what about Medic? Are you going for the Vitasaur? No, I love the Vitasaur. I think it's a great weapon, but I'll do that list in the future. But the weapon I'm giving a bollocking to? The Overdose. I think the Overdose is pretty of a shitty weapon, because look at his upsides. Well, not really upsides. 15% or is it 10% damage penalty, and you get 20% bonus speed when fully charged. Now, if it was, let's say, a passive effect, or if you have your mini gun out and activate straight away without having the weapon out, then it would have been a good upgrade besides the damage penalty. But Valve pretty much bugged it up, and now it would get shat on for the rest of its life, while people just laugh at it. Obviously, things like the Blue Saga, there you go, has a wonderful upside to it, where you get health back when you hit enemies. And you got obviously the Crusader's Crossbow, where you can heal your teammates from afar and kill enemies from a safe distance. And you got the normal syringe gun, which is alright. But the Overdose, I consider a very, very poor weapon that gets neglected from Valve headquarters because nobody likes them and nobody likes it. And there's the mini sentry again with the easy kills. But still, it's a pretty sad weapon overall. Nobody uses it. I rarely see a medic with it. But oh well, that's all to be considered really. So next is Sniper, and that is the Razorback and the Bushwhacker. The reason I think they're both bad is the reason this. Obviously, the Razorback blocks 1 backstab. The Bushwhacker criticals when enemies deratied, but no random crits, and take 20% extra damage vulnerability. Obviously, it's when active. I loved using the Bushwhacker. The random crits, I always loved getting it. Getting random crits left and right, and then they had to nerf it to the point where you can't get random crits. Now they nerfed it even more to the point where you just take extra damage when it's out. It's not really that much of a great melee weapon, and you only use your melee weapon if you're a cornet and you're hoping for a crit. The Razorback, it's situational. If you're being constantly backstabbed, I would see a good use for it, but the Spiker just simply uses Revolver on you, so it kind of defeats their purpose. Maybe the Razorback gives you a 10% extra bullet damage resistance. Yeah. But next is the Spy. 3 weapons I hate. The Ambassador, the Big Earner, the Dead Ringer. The Ambassador, so many downsides, and criticals on headshots, which is pretty damn difficult. The Big Earner, 25% max health on wear, well minus. That's just a... ugh. And the Dead Ringer, fun to use, annoying to fight against. Obviously enough though, the Ambassador, damage penalty, fire penalty, no random crits. I don't use this weapon. If it's a challenge, then a challenge video, yes. But casually, no. Unless if you're very good at getting headshots, then it would be a good weapon. But if you're terrible, then no. The Big Earner, you're just going to get one shot by soldiers and demo men a lot. Yes, the boost speed is nice with the cloak duration, but if they removed, let's say, 20 health or 15, then it would be reasonable. And the Dead Ringer, annoying to fight against and fun to play with. But that's my 9 list, guys. What do you think? What weapons do you hate and like? And do you want a top 9 liked or great weapons list? Comment down below of what you think, and I will see you all next time. Have a good day.